So we are very clear about the stand that we are going to take. We will not allow anybody to mess with the Constitution, because if there had to be some discussion, there should have been a discussion earlier one, and that's why we are questioning the timing. There is a trust deficit with this government, and what does the government want to do? The government wants to, divert attention in a country which is very diverse, and that is the diversionary tactic from used to divert attention from that one nation, one businessman, one prime minister and his one friend. But that's not going to happen. Of course, he has been successful to a certain extent, because if you look at what the discussion today is on television channels is about what is going to happen in the special parliament session, whereas today the morning started with discussions on the on what was happening with the India alliance. So that was very successful, and that has rattled the Prime Minister. However, if I talk about the one nation, one election, there are certain things which are quite confusing. But I do understand that the Prime Minister expects everybody to be a clone of everybody else, which is something that we will fight tooth and nail. But if you look at the municipalities and the panchayat elections, they are a state subject. So if my friend from the BJP is a lawyer, she should explain how is it that you want to have simultaneous elections and then say that this will become the prerogative of the center. That means you are going to hit at the basic structure of our constitution. And when we talk about what happened in the initial years after we gained independence, quite truly, obviously, we were going from one election to another, and 5-year governments were completing their term. But what happened after 1967 is bound to happen again. And like my friend Mr. Gandhi has already mentioned, and I will not repeat it, what happens when a certain government falls, or a certain assembly is dissolved, or the center falls? However, the cost factor that they are talking about should also explain that if you're talking about the EVMs, that means the EVM number of EVMs should be tripled if you're going to have a 3-tier election. And that means that right now you have about 19 to 20 lakhs, so you'll have to manufacture 60 lakhs, 40 more lakhs. Now, all the EVMs are said to have a life span of about 15 years. So can you imagine, after about 15 years, you'll suddenly have this burden of replacing all the machines. So we must keep in account what hurdles that we are going to be facing in the coming times. But if you look at the EVMs, 40% of the balloting units should be there, and that is from past experience. And if you look at the control units, there should be about 20% of them. And do you know the cost of it? 28 lakh balloting units, 24 lakhs control units, and the tentative expenditure on the procurement of EVMs alone will be 3,570 odd crores. Whereas if you talk about the VVPATs, which should also be doubled, I'm talking about the cost factor. They were talking about the cost factor getting reduced, but suddenly,
but that's a one-time cost.
Have to be taken into account.
Sujata Paul, that is a one-time cost.
No, but what I'm saying is it hasn't been taken into account in the budget, right? And elections are around the corner. So what I'm trying to say is, how are you going to account for that suddenly at this point of time? So I do understand that this is only a shagufa or a jumla of the Prime Minister to divert attention. However, the last point is that there was a study conducted by the IDFC Institute in 2015. And what they said was that if there are simultaneous elections, what happens is that 77% people who vote tend to vote for the same winning party at both the center and the state. So what is happening is the regional issues are going to be pushed back, and the national issues are going to be of prime importance, because the center can easily announce a central scheme and people are going to vote for that. They're going to ask for votes on that. So one must understand that the regional issues in a federal structure are always very important, and you can't do that. And if, the same study also showed that if it goes after 6 months, there were about 61% people alone who would choose the same party. So there was a reduction there within 6 months. Let us remember that there will be accountability, and our legislators will be on their toes if elections happen over a period of time rather than having everything together. Yes.